Hello, Hester.
Hello.
Cool. So, I guess this is like the start of not really a podcast, more of a being stuck at home and let's record a conversation type of thing. I think with the people watching like the YouTube channel and especially people looking to kind of grow the freelance side of the work that they're doing, or if they're looking to start an agency, I think you're a great person to speak to because you do both. So,
Thank you.
yes, I guess it'd be good to kind of get an idea of where it all started for you, really.
So I think when I think about it, over the years, I've freelanced on and off. I used to work for a number of large corporate companies, and then I went and worked for some agencies as well. And then when I had my children, my daughter 10 years ago, it's a bit of a nightmare trying to work part-time in PR. So sort of the freelance thing just kind of happened quite naturally. When I look back, it was quite funny because I actually used to work 2 mornings a week with two small children. And so I used to have to do a lot of lying, saying, oh no, I can't make that day, I'm afraid, for a meeting. I've already got another one. And it wasn't,
Yeah.
it was just I didn't have childcare. So I think nowadays it's a lot easier, whether you've got children or not, for just people to be a bit more honest. And I think when it comes to freelancing, that's the beauty of it. You know, lots of people don't have children. Lots of people just want to have a, varied life and be able to manage their own diaries. And I think that's the beauty of freelancing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was in a similar situation to you. Where I was like working at an agency who were, they're great. Like they were totally fine with me kind of growing that side.
Yeah.
And I cut my hours down there, and they were really supportive. But I was exactly the same. Like when I started, I had the Dispense Digital website. And if you landed on it, you just think that it was an agency, it was a team. And I
Yeah.
just lie about the fact that, like, it was obviously just me, or
Yeah.
like when we started working together, I'd like pretend like, this is Hester, she's the head of PR or whatever. But now I'm just totally upfront and just like, look,
Yeah.
it's a remote operation, but you're essentially getting an agency service. It's just going to be cheaper because we're spread apart and we don't have stupid office overheads or anything like that. So I mean, in terms of your start, so it's was it purely a digital PR focus when you started then? Because you came from quite a large agency background, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it wasn't originally digital, but obviously that's become a massive part in it. And I think when I look back, when I first started freelancing to what I know now, it's kind of just changed so much. And I think, digital was obviously big 10 years ago, but I think people didn't really quite always get it. And even now, if you say digital PR, people don't always understand what they mean by that. And I think that's almost how we ended up connecting, wasn't it? Because obviously you doing SEO, etc., trying to boost, people's Google rankings, etc. That's obviously what digital PR can do for you as well. So originally it was very much, I'm that old that when I first started out, I used to measure coverage with a ruler. And it's literally, that's what you would say to clients is, oh, this is the equivalent of X amount of advertising. And that's how it was done. It was done with a ruler, you used to do the PR power of three. So say if it was worth, £300, it would actually be like £900 worth of advertising. And obviously all of that's gone and all of that's changed. And I think people much more understand the power of digital PR. I think there is definitely still a place for traditional PR. I think that's really big. I was on my local radio station this morning. I think there's so many ways you can engage with PR, but digital is obviously absolutely massive, and it's such an easy way to do it yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess especially the more reputable SEOs have kind of been forced into this. It's kind of digital PR and nothing because like the term link building is almost like a dirty word.
Yeah.
I think it, in some ways, I suppose it has been tarnished by, I guess, for every one good SEO that does things quote unquote white hat or the right way, then there's other people who go down a more spammy road. Obviously, I do both ways because I have a bunch of affiliate sites and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so in terms of, like you said, that there's traditional PR still has a role. So in terms of like a client split, is it like 50-50 digital, traditional, or how does it work for you?
To be honest, if I'm really honest, it's about just spotting the opportunities, and what often is a digital PR opportunity often becomes a traditional opportunity as well. So, for example, I got a client in The Guardian, or specifically The Observer, on their, it was on the Guardian website, because it was then printed in their newspaper on a Sunday. That was then The Observer. So quite often there's a huge crossover. Not always, obviously, in certain, like HuffPost is obviously just online. But I think I've not actually worked it out. That would be really interesting to do, to see what the split would be. But I think I would imagine it probably is more 60-40 digital to traditional, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So in terms of like, because I know you've done white label work for some quite big agencies down south and stuff like that, like in terms of pure digital PR,
Yeah.
and I guess more of a broader, like an outreach role. So I guess for anyone watching this who's maybe struggling, like they've paid for some guest posts and stuff like that, and it's not really worked out for them, I guess what kind of advice would you have? Because not everyone's in the boat that I'm in, where, I'm lucky to have the types of clients who have budgets to put into like surveys and things like that. So I guess if there's people dealing with smaller clients, then what could they do from your angle to kind of jump on any opportunities?
Well, I think you've just literally said it yourself. It's about jumping on opportunities, and I think you can kind of get inspiration from the sort of most unlikely of places. I think when it comes to it, there's a lot you can actually do yourself, whether you want to do PR for yourself or whether you're doing it for clients. Because I think, as you well know, I love PRing myself as well, because I kind of think you've got to walk the walk. Yeah. And it's no good me saying, I'm really good at getting PR coverage if I never ever do it myself. So there are a number of really great ways you can do it. There's Twitter, obviously, which is absolutely huge. I still speak to people now who are like, no, I'm not on Twitter. I don't really see the point of it. And it's like, oh my God, that's literally where all the journalists hang out. And literally all you have to do is search #JournoRequest, JOURNO, Journo Request, and filter it from latest, which is just what you press at the top. And it will literally filter all the PR opportunities there are. The journalists right now are like, oh my God, please help me. And it could be anything from like, I need a makeup expert, to I need a working mum, I need someone that's in lockdown with their ex-partner. It can be absolutely anything. And I think there are so many opportunities there themselves, but also there's things like Google Trends as well. So yes, you're right. You've obviously got some clients with bigger budgets who are able to do research, etc. But actually, if you Google Trends, then you can type in any keyword in there and it will literally give you analysis on what people have been Googling with that word over the last 5 years, and you can split it. So I think it's really key when it comes to doing your own PR or doing it for your clients to actually be quite creative and use the free tools that are out there.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a couple of ones as well, and like Statista, that's really good.
Yeah.
There's that response source tool that I sent you the other day, that free one. Yeah. Obviously, response source is good, but I know it's quite expensive. So again, unless you've got a couple of clients to kind of work the budget into it, it's probably not worth it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of if we talk more about getting the actual links, because I know this has happened a couple of times just when we've worked together.
Yeah.
So what do you do? What's the usual process if somebody features the client but then they don't link to them? Like, do you have kind of like a contingency plan in place if that happens?
Do you know what? It's really difficult, and I think one of the key points is if, as a PR, as a freelancer, you are being judged by your client on whether or not you're going to get that link, you need to make sure that those publications do link, because quite often you might get coverage in an amazing title, coverage as in the business name is mentioned, but it doesn't always include a backlink. I think usually if you want a backlink, you ask as you're offering that quote or as you're offering that piece of advice. Don't wait until it's printed or published online to then go back retrospectively and say, actually, can you add a backlink to this? Because it might really annoy the journalist and you might burn any bridges for the future. But also, I think it's just about, as any good PR should be doing, finding out the opportunity first. And I know, having worked at previous agencies just on digital PR, there are certain titles, they might be absolutely massive, but they don't give a backlink, so therefore the client wasn't interested. So it's just finding that out first and up front. Yeah,
I mean, I guess as well, it's not, obviously it is about the backlinks, but it's not the be all and end all, because I think, you've got to think if you're the client as well. If you're getting landed in national press either way, then they're going to be happy. Obviously, we want to get a link out of it as well. Like you said, it's not the be all and end all, and a lot of times, when we've done press releases and done press release outreach, it's been much easier to land links in like industry press, and they're often the ones that move the needle in terms of rankings more than the national press do anyway. Because if we're looking at like domain relevance, then something that's really relevant to the client is probably better than a random link in the Sun anyway.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think it's about being quite particular and about choosy. Being choosy. It's not just about any old link counts, because it really doesn't work like that. But I think also as well, don't panic if you don't get the link, because actually what's happening is when people Google you, your name still pops up, the business name still pops up. So it just adds that bit of gravitas. If someone's wondering whether to give you a call to find out more about your business or whether to send you an email, they do a Google and your name pops up. Not being funny, they don't really care if there's a backlink or not. It doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
But actually, your name still pops up. So you can kind of get really hung up on it. But if you are being measured as a PR and as a freelancer on that, then you obviously need to make sure, because otherwise you could be working really hard and your client's like, whatever, you didn't get me backlink. So you need to make sure.
Yeah, and I know that's happened to you a few times as well. So I know you said about like burning bridges, and you don't want to kind of piss off journalists. So do you actually find that you've been able to build ongoing relationships with journalists that are in like some really decent publications, and then do you just have like a go-to list?
Yeah, I think that's what it's about for me. As with anything in life, like I'm kind of been working in corporate world for about 20 years now, kind of working for 20 years, and I just think it's about being nice. I'm not into any of this playing hardball or trying to be business-like. Just you do you and be yourself. And I think if you're nice, the journalists are like, oh my God, actually, if I go to Hester, she'll probably have a client that can help me, or she can answer the question herself. She'll turn it around really quickly and she'll hit that deadline, because I know what they're looking for. I wouldn't ever send them, if they've asked for 100 words, you send 100 words. You don't go, here's 400 words, feel free to edit it. Like, nobody's got time for that. And I think that's what it is with journalists. That's how you want those connections. And that's the other thing about Twitter as well, is you can do a little gentle reminder by liking their tweet, retweeting it, etc. And they're like, oh yeah, I saw Hester did that the other day. Then when you email, you can reference and say, I loved your tweet the other day, it really made me laugh. Or, did you manage to get someone to help you with that? That's literally all relationship building. And I think that's so important, and it's often forgotten. But for me, it's just about being nice. In business, whatever, being kind, being nice, that always pays dividends.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's like anything, isn't it? No matter how good someone is, if they're a bit of a knobhead, you're not going to work with them again.
So, it's that, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. So I guess this is like a natural segue into. So you've been doing the digital PR freelancing for a while, but you've recently launched an agency with your husband. So I don't know if you want to kind of talk about that a bit.
Yeah, well, that's kind of something that we've wanted to do for years. We've been together for 18 years, so wedding anniversary on Sunday, 12 years. Anyway, so we've kind of wanted to set up our own business for years and years and years, and there's never been quite the right opportunity. And coronavirus isn't really the greatest opportunity, but actually we set it up a couple of months before, and it's just going really well. It's called Huddia. It's named after our children, Hudson and India. It's incorporating what I do doing PR and social media, and my husband's retrained to do web design as well. So we're offering that, and it's about helping businesses grow. And I think it's, a lot of our clients are small businesses, which is where I really still get my kicks from. I've done, we've both worked with some really big global companies, but actually when you get coverage for, a small client, it's worth loads because it means so much to them.
Yeah.
So, we offer digital PR, traditional PR. If you don't want to do, if you don't want someone, or you can't afford to pay someone ongoing, I actually do like PR power-ups. So I can spend an hour up to 3 hours showing you all the tricks, talking you through stuff, how to write a press release, how not to write a press release, what's considered a story. Because I think I'm going to write a blog on that soon, because so many people go, oh my God, I've got a new logo. Can you share that with the press? That's literally not news. So I think, it's about knowing what's not news as well as what is a story, and how you can get the best opportunity to, really get some traction with the story in the press.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess as well, we've spoken about things before where I've just, I might have mentioned, a client's really overcome something, and you know, like they created a really profitable business out of nothing or whatever, and I've not
Yeah.
really thought anything of it, and straight away you've gone, well, there's the story.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it turns out to lead to some really nice pieces. So I guess, you know, and then, like you said, there's that other flip side of, oh well, we've changed the font on our website. It's like, well, it's not. No one cares.
Literally, no one cares. And I think that's the thing. It's about identifying those stories, and also I think there's a really good. I just literally wrote a blog about really good TED Talks to watch, and Simon Sinek and Finding Your Why. And everybody in business, if you set up business yourself, there's a reason why you did it, whether it's you want flexible working, whether you want to, for me it's about being able to pick up and drop the children off at school. Like, that's always been really important to me. That's why I want to work for myself. For my husband setting up a business with me, it was about being at home more for the children, not having to do the commute and that kind of thing. So everyone's got their why as to why they want to set up their business. And I think everybody, whatever age they are, however long they've been in business, there is a story. Yeah. And I think, you know, you can then, that's the other thing to mention as well, is, you know, PR doesn't always have to be around your business. You can get that link in, or you can get that mention in. But actually, I had like a double page photo shoot for like Women at Home magazine, because I've got scoliosis, curvature of the spine, and I had it operated on like 30 years ago. But actually, that whole story, that created some really great opportunities. So I think it's just about being able to share your life, whatever you've done. But I think also you've got to remember, you've got to be comfortable with what you're sharing. There's no point doing stuff just to get PR. You've got to be happy about it, and you've got to remember, especially digital PR, that is out there. People Google you in 10, 15 years to come, and you need to think about whether or not that's really what you want to be associated with. So that's the other thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, when I got featured in the Lab Bible, I was getting slagged off here, there, and everywhere. Luckily, James Taylor, you Google my name, you're not finding me anywhere unless you put SEO at the end of it. So I'm pretty safe there. Cool. I mean, unless there's anything else you want to kind of, you know, if there's anything to talk about, anything that you're launching, yeah.
No, I think it's just sort of a few quick top tips. So just think about what your story is. Everybody's got one. It's just about finding it. Almost sit down and imagine you're like going to try and write a book, a really short book. What would it be? I think the other thing, oh my God, cannot forget this, photography, decent photos. Literally, I wang on about this to our clients all the time. And also as part of my other role, freelancing, I actually am the freelance features editor for a few magazines locally. I literally, the other week, I think I had to say no to 4 different articles from amazing businesses because their photos were rubbish. They didn't have decent photography. And I think if you were going to put yourself in the position where you're going to do PR, you need to be prepared to spend literally a couple of £100 getting some really good photos done, or even on an iPhone. Like, the quality is now really good, but with my sort of freelance writer's hat on, they have to be at least 2 megabytes. And you know, even when me and my husband, I mean, he hated doing it, but if you check out hadia.co.uk, you know, we've had our own mini photo shoot done, and it just looks so much more professional. And I think, you know, most small businesses, that if you run them, you are the brand, and so people want to see what you look like. People buy from people. So definitely photography, and don't get het up, don't get sort of hung up on whether or not you actually get that link. It's just about getting your name out there and getting some PR coverage.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, as long as you're up front with the client, and you know, it's not obviously from my end, it is mostly about that, but at the same time, you know, if the client just obsesses over that and all the good work that you've done otherwise, you know, you don't want that to go to waste. So I guess it's just being as clear as possible, and just being upfront about what the overall goal is. Like you said, they might not think about somebody doing a brand search, especially if they're, you know, they're growing organically anyway, and people will be doing more brand searches. Then it's just more of a trust signal, isn't it? Same with the photos, same with all that kind of stuff as well. Cool. So what's the best place for people to contact you then?
So it's hadia.co.uk, HUDIA. Our contact details are on there. Or I'm on Instagram at Hester Writes, WRITES. So come and find me.
Brilliant.